standpoint, the people who were on board and were involved from the Navy side did not know what they were firing.
Okay, well, that's your take on it. I don't want to burn up all of our time.
No.
Separately, you've written 2 books, and I remember one account about the Israelis, submarine jacking in to a Libyan communications facility and sending out false flag info that then got Reagan to send in the aardvarks and blow up Gaddafi's tents. Break that down for us and talk about your books.
Well, okay, this was written in The Other Side of Deception, which is my second non-fictional book. And I described there what happened was there were Mossad units with the special forces that came in and installed a bounce-off device, which is kind of like it's a communication system that you can broadcast to it from some location. It then takes the communication that you've sent to it and will bounce it off as if it's coming from a source very close to where it's located. In fact, they put it in an apartment building, which was a block and a half or 2 blocks away, don't remember exactly, from the Libyan High Command. And they broadcast information in code that was then broken to say that they basically took responsibility, that the Libyans put responsibility on the Libyans for the Label attack where an American serviceman was killed. And that, called in itself as a terrorist attack against American forces, brought about the attack by Reagan, who called in an air attack on Libya that killed Gaddafi's daughter, I think, one of his children or something.
So that is a frame-up, and when,
yes.
And so when you were in the Mossad, you had knowledge of that?
Yes. And this is the information that I'm talking about.
Now, Israel cannot be happy that you're talking about that.
They never were. Well, Israel's not happy about anything I say. The point is, I don't wave flags. When I talk about these things, I talk about either what I know.
No, I understand. It sounds like you're saying you're a political atheist. What are some other interests? I mean, what made you get upset with the Mossad and critical? I mean, what are some of the other misdeeds?
Well, what got me, I'm not a political atheist. I have a left leaning, and I admit that. And I think the Palestinians should have a state.
Well, by political, atheist, I mean you just try to analyze the facts you see. Yes,
I do. My main concern with the Mossad, and my main problem with the Mossad, was the fact that the Mossad is a very important entity in the protection of the State of Israel. And what it should do is gather information, analyze it to the best of its ability, put it into the process of, into the rest of the information gathering system, and provide the leaders of the state the ability to make a decision which is based on reality and data. The information, the Mossad had a tendency to feel that, politicians come and go. We can't rely on them to make the proper decisions, so therefore we will tailor the information in a way that will cause about the results that we call for. You can't trust the Arabs. There's never going to be peace. The Palestinians have no intention.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, all intelligence agencies have been caught doing that.
Absolutely. But, not being a member of others, I can't complain about them. And I don't feel a responsibility that I need to.
What type of missions did you mainly run?
Mainly recruiting of agents. The difference between a case officer and an agent, with a lot of people mix it up. A case officer is a person who works in the field and makes contact with people of the enemy, turns them, and then sends them back into their own countries to gather information for you. That's what a case officer does, and that was my
So
job.
You were like a spy master.
Absolutely, yes. Well, yeah, in a way. It's more kind of a handler. And I was more on the side of the actual recruiting.
And that's a point you made in the Washington Post, that guaranteed Israeli intelligence is all over Turkey. They had people on probably all those ships.
No question about that. In fact, the question that arises today about this, this screw-up is which intelligence was wrong here. If the Mossad did not provide the intelligence to the naval intelligence, then it's Mossad's fault.
Well, stay there. Let's talk about that when we come back, and we'll take some phone calls with our guest.
Times are tough, and you got to stretch that dollar. A special invitation for listeners to save. Sign up at dublishoppers.com today and start paying the absolute guaranteed lowest internet retail prices for the coolest stuff. New premium brand name TVs, laptops, watches, camcorders, Blu-ray players, and more. All with factory warranties, just like you get from a retail chain, except for the absolute guaranteed lowest internet retail prices. They start low and go lower with our reverse auctions. You save even more with your first $8 auction purchase. Doobly will give you an instant $25 dining certificate good at thousands of nationwide restaurants, plus a $500 vacation discount voucher, usable at hundreds of resorts around the U.S. and world. Sign up today at dublishoppers.com. Pay the absolute guaranteed lowest internet retail prices, and listeners receive special rewards. It's worth a peek to keep money in your pocket and the coolest stuff in your home and garage. Sign up today at dublishoppers.com. That's D-U-B-L-I shoppers.com. You'll be glad you did.
The question is, where should the American people draw their line in the sand?
What have we got? A republic or a monarchy?
A republic is based on a constitution which protects minority rights.
Not democracy, not mob rule, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
So they think they own our land, they think they own our water, children, our education, our money.
We have to define who we are and what we will tolerate.
Somebody's going to ask you what you did during the Patriot Uprising.
You have been warned.
We have the facts. We have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. We have common law. Knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so excited to be able to offer you Don't Tread on Me, Rise of the Republic. Tyranny is upon us, but liberty and the sleeping giant that is the American people is rising. A new tool in the info war. Don't Tread on Me. Order it at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139 and support independent, patriotic Liberty films.
Hounded by debt collectors with phone calls and letters? Thinking of calling a debt relief company? Don't. Greedy lawyers and debt companies charge thousands. Why pay when you can get their solution absolutely free with New York Times best-selling author Herb Kay's #1 debt secret, the how-to on stopping the calls without paying the debt companies. Yes, free for a very limited time. Here's Herb Kay.
Don't get ripped off by credit repair companies when I can give you the information you need to do it yourself for free.
Herb Kay was right. His free information helped me stop the calls and settle my debt.
What have you got to lose? Stop the calls now. Get out of debt and have more money. Get Herb Kay's #1 debt secret absolutely free now. Call 800-822-1291. That's 800-822-1291. 800-822-1291.
This happens sometimes. I'm doing so much during the breaks that I forget the question I asked before the break. Maybe when we take a few calls, they can give us what that question was. But Victor Ostrovsky is our guest. Thebookpatch.com is one of his websites. And we're here discussing the situation the world's in. Separately, you've got the whole North Korean peninsula with the U.S. aircraft carrier about to arrive. And I find it very curious that there's all these tensions rising globally as there's a world economic meltdown happening. And I go back to World War I and World War II. We always have wars when the planet is in a crisis. And I don't know if it's human instinct or if it's being orchestrated or what's happening, but looks like rough times are ahead. Victor, what's your take on the whole geopolitical landscape?
That when you have problems economically, governments tend to go to war. I mean, it drowns out their failures and puts the focus on something more dangerous. It's like they said that the biggest solution to all economic problems would be aliens if they arrived, because then we would unite. Things can be solved in simple terms, but politicians have a problem that they have short-term elections. And they have to get reelected again.
Well, you brought that up during a break. There's a lot of scandals in Israel right now. Maybe Netanyahu knew this would blow up, but it would have a way of unifying Israelis and is a good smokescreen.
Well, got a big problem with trying to solve the situation in the Middle East. I mean, when you have one of the chief heads of the American military go in front of Congress and say that every time an Israeli soldier shoots a Palestinian kid, 5 more people join Al-Qaeda and shoot at American soldiers in Afghanistan. And he tied the things together, which are to be tied. I mean, one does relate to the other. I mean, we're all, so to speak, fighting the same war against terror. And as we're fighting it, we're